Hello, what's up everybody? How is it going? Welcome to another video of tutorial series Learning Laravel from Scratch. I'm your host Anwar Ali and I'm here today with a new topic. And the topic is accessing URI segment in Laravel. At the same time, if time permits, we'll also try to cover the uploading of files using Laravel. And I think accessing the URI segment will not take much time. We can cover it quickly. So let's see what we have done till now. So we had worked on admin panel. We had completed our adding of categories, editing, listing and deleting of categories. So today we can see that whenever we go on category, our category should be active menu, but dashboard is still active. So what I want to do is, in whichever module I am in, the menu of that respective module should be active. So in that case, what I can do is I can do it in different way. I can pass the name of the controller through to the view file and check if the controller is categories, and then make the active menu accordingly. But one of the easiest way to do is accessing the URI segment. So since this sidebar and the header is located in our admin layout, so we can go to views, layouts and admin. Okay, and you can see that if I just click on dashboard, find, this is the menu that we are working in now, and you can see that we have this class active over here, which is making our dashboard active. So what I want to do here is I want to grab the URI segment, which is over here. So if you see, this is our base URL till public. So admin is our first URI segment and categories is our second URI segment. So I want to grab the second URI segment and check to see if the second URI segment is categories. So if I click on dashboard, there is no link right now. So let's first of all have a link for dashboard. In this case, our link would be route, and I think my route name is dashboard for dashboard. Let me just quickly check. Which is inside routes, web, and slash admin is home. Okay, so instead of calling it home, I can just call it dashboard. Okay, so our dashboard is the route for our admin panel. Now if I go back, refresh this and click on, it's saying route home not defined. Where have I used route home? It is inside admin categories index blade. Okay, so let's use it home then. Let's make it home because we have already used it multiple places. I'll make this home. Now let's refresh this. Now if I click on dashboard, it is taking me to the dashboard. If I click on categories, it is taking me to categories, and if I'm clicking on news, it should take me on news. So what I will do is I will grab the second URI segment. Okay, so I can just write a PHP code over here this way. We could also do this without using PHP code, using a blade template like this, using if statement of blade template, but just to make code a little bit short, I'm trying to use PHP. So my segment, let's call variable name segment equals to, in order to grab the URI segment in Laravel, what we can do is we can say request segment, and since our URI segment is 2, so I'll say it 2 over here. Okay, so what I can do here is I'll just first of all test if I'm getting the segment right. So echo segment, let's refresh this. So we should get, here is our segment that is being echoed. So we are getting categories as second URI segment. So if you go to dashboard, our segment is blank because it only has up to one URI segment. So what we can do is, if we can check if the segment is blank or if there is no segment, we can make the dashboard active. So here, if I'll just write like if dollar segment is equal to, or if not dollar segment, instead of saying is equal to blank, I can say if not dollar segment, and just make sure that you give a proper enter, because in blade template we cannot just write if in the same line. So we can just say like this, if not dollar segment, I should make this active and end the if over here, and if. Let's see. So if we don't have any URI segment, our dashboard is active, but if we go to category, dashboard is no more active. So this code is working fine. Now similarly, what I'll do is I'll copy this much of code from here to here and place it over here. So we can now say if our segment is categories, because since in this case we have second URI segment is categories, so if the second URI segment is categories, then I should make this nav active. Let's see now. So now if I refresh, the category should be active. You can see the category is active. Similarly, we will be creating a category, a controller called news and a route called news. So we can copy the exact same code and place it for this and call it news, okay, which we have not worked yet, but our active menu is now working fine. Okay, so this was the first thing that I wanted to cover today. Secondly, today we'll be creating the controller for news and work on adding of news, including uploading a file or image for the news. So our main focus is to not to create the news controller and learn how to list and add a new news, but our main focus would be learning uploading files in Laravel, because we already have covered how do we create controller, how do we create let's say how do we add new entries to database, edit the or list or delete the entries from the database. So we will today be focusing on adding of news. Okay, so first of all, let us just create a new controller for news. So let us go to the project, cd slash application slash amps slash www slash project. Now let us create a new controller, php artisan make controller, and it is inside admin folder, so admin slash news controller, and I want to make it resource controller, so dash resource. So my controller has been created. Let's go to the code. If I go to app http and controller admin, I can see news controller has been created. So I want to copy few things from categories controller, which is using of the model, and I think we already have the model for news, so I want to use the model, copy, and I also want to use the category model because I want to show the list of categories in the while adding items or editing items. I want user to select the category of the news, so I want category model in this controller. At the same time, I also need news model. Save it. Name of the model is news, so I'm writing news. Similarly, I need to copy the middleware for the to handle the session. So I'll copy the constructor, place it over here. Okay. Now let us create a index file for this. So return let's say view, and I would like to create a new folder called news and create an index blade over there. Similarly, I also want to grab all the values from the database, all the entries from the database, and return it to the view file. Just like we did it for category, I would like to do it for news. So $news equals to news all, and I would like to pass it to my views, so I will make this an array. So array arr news, and pass it over here just with function by using with function $arr. So we have passed all the news to the view file, but since there might not be any news yet in our database, so it might just show blank, but no problem, we just passed all the news to the view file. So I need to create this view, which is inside admin folder, news folder, and index blade. So inside our view we have admin folder, we only have a folder for categories, so I want to create a new folder for news. So news, and we have a folder. Now I would like to create a new file called index.blade.php, and just to save the time, I would like to copy the index of categories and paste it over here. And this will be exactly the same. Instead of categories, I need to have news, and instead of category over here, I would like to have news, and add new category should now be add new news. Now I also need to create the route for the news module. So let's go to the route folder and open web.php. Just like we did it for categories, I would like to do exactly same for the news. So admin/categories will be now admin/news. Categories controller should now be news controller, and as admin is fine. So we have created the routes, we have created the view file, and add new will be admin.news.create, and add new news, that's fine, ID, title, and action, and that's fine. So for each categories, it should now be for each news. And in order to edit the news, we should have to C. I'll just use C, or we can just use N. So $C arrow, I'll just replace it with $N arrow wherever we have $C. So $N arrow, save it. So news as N, I'm showing the ID of the N, I'm showing the title of the N, and my links should be admin.news, admin.news, and finally we are done with the index blade. Now let's go and check if our index page for the news would work. Finally, I would like to do one more thing, and if there are no news, I just want to handle something. So I just want to check if just count the entries of news. So if count $news, only then use the for each loop. Else I want to have a tr with td call span. We have 3 td, so call span equals to 3. No news found. You can also do the same for the categories, but I will do it right now for the news only. Now I would like to end the if. So end if, save it. Let's check the news page now. So we haven't added the route for the news yet in our admin blade, in our admin layout. So I will go to admin.blade.php. Just like we did it for categories, I would like to copy this route and paste it for news. So admin.news.index. Refresh it. Now go to refresh this first of all, and I would like to go to news. Now you can see news is active, add new news, everything is working perfect. My table is being shown, no news found, perfect. So if I click on add new news, now it should show me a form to add a new news. In order to do that, I have to create I have to write some code in this create function. So in order to do that, I'll just copy this. You know what, we can just copy the entire code. Let us just copy the create for now, step by step. So news controller, paste it over here. Instead of categories, it should be news. I need to create a view for the create news. So I'll just create Control S, create.blade.php. I'll just copy exactly the same code of create blade of categories and paste it inside my news. Just replace categories by news over here, news, and my form action should now be admin slash news dot store, and my title is over here, title, perfect. And I will copy this form group and add more form group over here. Let's just first of all confirm which fields do we have in database. So PHP myadmin, and for news we have project. So go to project, check our news, and we can see in the structure that we have title, description, author. So let's add these three entries for the news. Title, we already have, description and author. So I'll just make it title, author, and description. So title is already done. Author, we need to make the name author, and description, I should make it text area, or you can even use CK editor if you want. I'll just use text area for now. Text area, its name should be description, and just give it a class called form control. And anything else, that's it. So we have CSR token, we have title, author, and description for the news. And why don't we add one more field in our news? That would be image. Okay. So currently you can just modify it using migration. So let's do that. Now in order to modify the migration, we can see that we already have some migrations written for our existing tables, which is inside database migration, and this is for the news. So we already have the migration for news. Now if we need to add one more field to our existing table, we will not be touching this migration. Rather, what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a new migration for update. Okay, so if our existing migration is create news table, now we'll create a new migration called update news table. So what we can do is we can just open our terminal and write the code php artisan make migration update underscore news underscore table. Fine. So this will create a new migration for us, which is over here, update news table. Now in our up and down code, what we'll be doing is we'll be just copying the migration of news like this, paste it over here, and instead of calling the function create of schema, we will be calling the function table. First thing that we need to notice, in order to modify an existing table, we will be using table function, and since these fields are already over there, we can just remove this and type in our code like this, table slash, so our field is string and my field name will be image, and this can be null, so I'll just add another function called nullable. Okay, so if you have to add any extra let's say attribute to the field like is null, so you can just add a function called nullable. So this will now modify the table news and add a new field called string image, which is of string type, to our news table. So in order to write the rollback for this, I'll just copy the same, copy it, paste it over here. Now what will I do is I will just write table, instead of string I'll write drop column. Okay, I don't need nullable over here. So rollback will drop the column and up will let's say create the column. So in order to create a new column called news, called image in our news table, we will be running php artisan migrate, and it will just add a field called image in our news table. And if we want to roll back and remove the news and table, will just run php artisan migrate rollback, and it will remove drop the column called image. So let's give it a try. php artisan migrate and hit enter, and it says the migration has been run successfully. So let's go and check if our structure has image now. Yes, you can see The image is over here. We could also have written some codes to add the image after title, which is not so much important right now. So I hope you understood how do we modify an existing migration. So we don't do it in the same file, rather we create a new file for the updating of the table and write the migration for that in that migration. So we have already modified our table. So now we can go to our create blade and add a field for image as well. So after the author, I want to add another field for image. So let's make it image. So it should be input type equals to file, and its name shall be image. Everything is good. We can remove class form control from this because we don't want this to be full width. Furthermore, we need to add an extra attribute called ink type if we are trying to upload. So ink type equals to multipart slash form dash data. Now let's try to see if our create blade or create function is working properly. So if I click on add new news, it should show me a form with title, author, image and description. Perfect. Now we need to write a code in order to save these fields. So let's go to our create blade, and our action, you can see it is admin categories store, and this is for categories. Let's close this. So this is index for categories, close this. So we have create blade over here for the news and just close the migrations, we don't need it anymore. So create blade for the news is over here, so it is calling the store function. So let's go to news controller and just put the category controller side by side. So I will just copy the code of category controller and paste it inside news controller store. Okay, now instead of category, we had also added an extra resource over here for categories, but in news control we'll add it for news. So news $news. I'll replace the category by news and replace the category by news. In news we have extra fields, so I'll just grab them. So news slash title, just like title, we need to add author is equals to dollar request author dollar news, and just like author, we also have description would be dollar request description. Now in order to upload the file, we have to understand few more things. So after the news has been saved, I would like to redirect it to index page, so news page. Now in order to upload the file, we need to understand few more things. Firstly, whenever we try to upload something that is to be used in our website, we don't upload it to our public folder. So public folder is only for those things that should be publicly accessible, just like CSS, JS and other stuffs, basic images that is to be used in website. But whenever we try to upload something in our Laravel project, we don't usually upload it inside public, but we upload it inside our storage folder. And whenever we upload our news to a storage folder, we also want it to be accessed in the front end. So we want to so all those publicly accessible files are inside public folder, should be inside public folder in order to access it, but we are storing the files inside storage. So somehow we need to manage to write some code to make this storage folder accessible in our front end. So you can see whenever we are trying to access this CSS or JS, you can go to open any of the template or layouts. You can see we are using asset folder, so we can somehow manage to access the storage folder using asset as well, but there is a certain trick for that. What we need to do is we need to write a code. First of all, we need to run a PHP artisan code, that is PHP artisan storage storage and link. So we are creating a link, let's say a virtual link for storage to make it publicly accessible. So we are typing command PHP artisan storage link in order to create, let's say, a virtual link for storage folder inside public folder. So two things to be noted. Firstly, we should upload all of our files to storage folder. Point number one. Point number two, we should only access files and folders which is to be publicly accessed through public folder. But storage folder is not inside public folder, so while we are accessing the files of storage folder, we cannot access it without creating a virtual link to storage folder. So after running this command php artisan storage link, it will create a folder. Let's see, if I run this command, it will create a storage folder over here. You can see that, but you can see there is an icon over here that is like anchor icon link. All of the folders are normal, but the storage folder over here is now associated to another folder which is inside storage app public. So this folder, though it is inside public folder, this is pointing to another folder which is actually storage app public. So this folder inside public folder is just a shortcut for the storage app public. So this way, now what we'll be doing is, whenever we upload any files and folders, we will be uploading them to public folder of storage app public. But that can be now pointed from storage folder. So if we have to access any files inside storage app public, we'll be accessing it using normal assets folder, but our assets link will be now assets storage and the name of the files or folders. So this is that simple. So first thing to be noted, we don't usually access any folders or files which is outside public folder. So in order to access any files and folders which is outside public folder, we need to create a link, a virtual link to that folder. So what we did is we created a virtual link using php artisan storage link. So it created a virtual folder for storage, which is actually pointing inside storage app and public. So whatever file, now let's see, let us just give it a try. New file, let's create a new file called test dot, or let's say a.txt. okay, and let us write some code a b c d, save it. So our a.txt is inside public folder of storage app, but this a.txt can now be pointed through this folder. So if I go and type in URL localhost / project / public / storage / a.txt, right? So if I go to Sublime Text, this, if this was inside storage, we would have browsed it using assets storage a.txt, which would produce a link localhost project public storage a.txt. Now if I hit enter, it is showing me ABCD, which is perfect. So you can see that though the file is inside a.txt and though the a.txt is inside public folder of storage app, it can still be browsed assuming that it is inside storage folder, because this storage folder is pointing to our public folder inside storage app public. So in order to test that, we just created a file called a.txt, which is, though it is inside public folder, we can assume that it is inside storage folder. So we can browse it using this URL public storage a.txt, assuming that it is inside public folder storage folder a.txt. So the first point that is clear now, I hope, and that whenever we upload any files and folders, for example, we are trying to upload it through let's say create blade for the news, we will be uploading all the files inside this public folder. We can create another folder called news, maybe for news, and upload all the images for the news inside that folder, but we will be browsing it through this folder, not this folder. I hope that is making sense. I think we can stop for today right now. I will try to upload another video today, maybe later this evening, and continuing the topic. So we have covered enough topics. So we have covered URI segment today, we have covered how do we modify existing route, and we have also covered how to create a virtual link of storage, inside the public folder and browse it, assuming that the files and folders are inside the storage, the virtual storage folder, which is inside public. So this is what we covered today. I will also try to upload another video continuing the topic. Till then, you can just go through what we have covered yet, and I'll see you guys with the new topic soon. Until then, have a nice time. Goodbye.